Welcome to another robot Adventures review. Today, we got a special guest from Marvel. Ta-da! He's really big. Yay! So, yeah, if you follow me on the social medias, specifically Twitter, I Twitter a lot. Oh shit! There he goes. Oh fuck! He's falling down. Yeah, you saw that yesterday. I went and saw the movie. So today is April 27th, 2019. And yeah, it was Avengers Endgame was great. It was super, super great. And that's speaking as a fanboy. As a fanboy, watched all the movies over and over and over. Just like, oh, I want to watch that one again. Oh, I want to watch that one again. So, yeah. I like the movies. And for a fanboy, I thought it was a 10 out of 10. It was, and I knew it was so good because in the theater I was just smiling. I was like, I'm still smiling, and I'm still smiling. Oh shit! They just did that. Oh fuck! Oh crap! And that was like, oh man, that's a lot of stuff. And I'm like, oh shit, yes. So I was watching this here in Japan, and you've heard that like Japanese audience is very quiet and very respectful even during exciting matches. And there were a few foreigners, and there were still a lot of seats. I saw like the 4:30 showing, so it was afternoon. There's still some seats. It wasn't really promoted as, hard here as it was, all over the, China's probably huge, but, anyway, I was the one going, yeah, oh, yeah, trying to keep it, quiet, but going, yeah. So, yeah, it was good. Yeah, so this is going to have spoilers in it because I just really want to talk about some of the stuff. And if you're if this movie is so big that it's so easy to find out what happens. You just click on everyone's doing spoiler reviews. Everyone, all the cool hip people. Goodbye. Because it's just like, wow, that was 22 movies to get to this point. They brought up all the guys and stuff like that, and it's a 10-year journey. It's, I don't know if you've read or listened to The Wheel of Time. It's I want to say Robert Jordan's, but it finished off with Sanderson, Brandon. That was was that 14 books? Over how many years? Like a decade or so? Forever. And then at the end it's like, that guy got taken down. Oh, that guy. So it was epic. It was, in the true sense of what an overarching thing is, epic is just thrown around. Oh, fucking, I ate that hamburger. It was epic. Okay, that wasn't epic. But yeah, if you like the movies and you've seen a lot of them and you watched the last one, you're like invested in the thing. It was a 10 out of 10. It was great. Like, oh man, that was so good. And it was a science fiction superhero movie, which they had to bend the laws of reality and stuff like that. You had to okay, that can, I guess, kind of happen. But if you suspended your disbelief, you're like, okay, yeah, go, and you're like, oh yeah, shit. So that's from the fanboy, from the perspective of, like, I saw all the movies, I was invested in the characters, I liked how I was following along with all the stuff. But if you haven't seen any Avengers movie, any Marvel of the 20-something, then this movie was maybe a 6 out of 10 or 5 out of 10, or maybe a 6 out of 10. You'll probably liked it just for, like, wow, that was a lot of fucking action. So, yeah, maybe a 6 out of 10. Could be like, well, I didn't know who the characters were. I didn't know why was this important? What happened before the... Yeah, so it's one of those situations where standalone movie, it's like you can't watch this without knowing what's going on. So that's maybe you can debate it, like, oh no, you can just go in there and watch it without knowing anything of who anybody is, which would be a kind of an interesting experiment. It's like, oh, all right. You don't know anything about this? Let's watch this. See what kind of reviews it would get from them. Okay, so that was it. Okay, now, so the story from the trailers, I wanted to take it from this part too. I was thinking about, after I watched the movie, after I watched some of the guys do spoiler reviews and stuff like that, oh, this is so good, and so I wanted to go back and watch it from the perspective of people who have just seen the trailers. What does the trailer show? And how much of the plot is given away? What's going on? Stuff like that. After you watch the movie, go back and watch the trailers. And it's like, oh, okay, well, not much was given away. It's like, oh, okay, what's a... I mean, it's misleading. Of course, they have done this before, where they're like, okay, this, and it looks like the story's like this long. It's like, oh, we gotta go fucking kill Thanos and fight and, stop him and stuff. From the trailers, it looks like, oh, that's what the story, the 3 hours of trying to stop Thanos. And I guess in a sense it is, because they do try to stop Thanos. But the way they do it is... it's like, wow, I didn't expect any of that. And so I was like, holy shit. So, yeah, there are gonna be, like, hours and hours of, like, people talking about their impressions of the movie and how it worked over, the whole 20-something things, and, what the hints were. There's so much going to be said about this movie because it's the culmination of all that stuff. So, what I want to talk about today, and is something that I didn't really see a lot of, from day one reviews or the spoiler stuff like that. And just finishing off with the Discovery and the Red Angel and the time traveling aspect of it. The first thing you have to do, like I said, after you watch a time traveling involved movie. Oh, spoilers! There's time traveling. Shit. All right, there's spoilers in this. I think I said that at the beginning. first thing you do when you watch a time traveling movie is you rewatch the time traveling movie. It's like, oh, okay. Or you just watch the... But the thing is with this is that it's just been around for so long that you don't watch this movie, or you do watch this movie again, but all the things that they time travel to are in, like, you know, movies that were made years ago. So you'll watch that, and so the concept is, this is the important part. And there was a fun YouTube video made, I don't know, maybe at the beginning, maybe 10 years ago or something like that, talking about dimensions. What is a dimension? And I'll try to find the link to that. I'll try to put it in the description. Or maybe I'll put a thing to the thing or something like that. So, there are multiple dimensions. And how do you move through dimensions? And that is the foundation for how this time travel works. So, to give you the I guess short answer, and then we have to deal with you know, destiny and free will and all these other concepts. You know, is free will possible? Yes. And in thinking about this, I thought about very popular but maybe mentally, you know, pulling shit out of his ass artist, Mr. West, and yeah.
So there's theories that there's infinite amounts of universe and there's alternate universe. So it's very important for me to get Hoover out, because in an alternate universe, I am him.
So there is infinity. Infinity. And within infinity, there are many, many paths. This way, this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. And there is time. Okay, so there's time. Time is one of the dimensions. There's the three dimensions that we know, like height, width, depth, and then the fourth dimension is time. Okay, so those are the four dimensions, you know, and then we're dealing with time travel, so moving within a timeline. And it is a timeline. So you're moving back and forth on this one line. Like Donnie Darko, like the worm, you're born, you live your life, and you die. And all of that lifespan is, you know, that's your timeline. And then they discuss the alternative realities. Fucking, that guy's a dumbass. So because there's infinity, there's infinite amounts of alternative realities. So this timeline next to this timeline, next to all these different timelines, moving, you know, splitting off from and interacting with a timeline. So you have a timeline here. Look, I'm using fingers. Shit, I should have drawn a picture. And you know, there's different timelines splitting off of that, because it's your those are all alternate timelines. But the big problem is moving from one timeline to try to see the other timelines, the alternate timelines. That's a problem. That's a different dimension. That's like the fifth dimension or sixth. And we're going up into higher dimensions. And that's the video that I was talking about earlier. So we're dealing with higher dimensions. So, yeah, and just on a side note, I think that's the power of the time stone, of the green time stone, is the ability to not only move through time, but also to move across timelines and see alternate timelines. Because if you could only time travel, you could only see one timeline. And you can only see points along that timeline. Oh, this point, this point, this point. That's all you could see. You could not see alternate timelines. That would be a step above time travel. So, Doctor Strange, using the time stone, could see alternate realities. So that wasn't really explained, because maybe people just didn't get into how the dimensions work or something. But so that was I mean, this is going to be long. So if you time travel, you're moving back and forth on your timeline. Okay? That's an important concept to remember, because, and they talk about it in the movie, and they have to explain that. So, okay, so that's well, I want to talk about that. But I also want to talk about how the movie flows, and how it starts, and then all the situation with time, and then how it ends, and maybe, I'm just doing this off the top of my head. This is the first take, and maybe I'll oh yeah, I need to talk about that. So, kanpai. All right, so let's talk about the movie. Like I said, there's time travel involved. And the time travel is in the middle half of the movie. So, yeah, I didn't even know, so many theories are like, oh, they're going to do time travel with Ant-Man and stuff like that. It's like, and that was true. But they didn't explain how it worked, and they still, you have to think about it to figure out how the time travel worked. But, so, another surprising thing for me from the Twitter stuff is it was 3 hours. I bought my ticket. I Twittered that out. I bought I went to the concession stand, bought 2 beers. One beer is in Japan here is about 750 yen. About, in dollars it's comparable. And so that was like 2 beers, 15 bucks, plus some popcorn. It was like $5 or something, and so that was like about 20 bucks, and plus the ticket, which was about 20 bucks, so like 40 bucks to go watch a movie in Japan, if you're going to drink 2 beers and eat a bunch of popcorn for 3 hours. And I already had a beverage up myself, so that was 3 alcoholic beverages in me, but I was able to go through the whole 3 hours without throwing a piss. I was like, oh shit. Extracting the urine did not happen. I was like, wow, shit, I was captivated. I was like, okay, good, I'm good. So that was surprising. So, start of the movie is like, okay, we see uh, shit, how many minutes? I'm already 20 minutes into this thing, I think, and I haven't even started talking about the movie. All right, so this is going to be a good 40 minutes. This is almost a third of the movie if I do 2 of these videos. It's just so fun, and I enjoyed watching people's spoiler reviews, because listening to their reactions and thoughts about how the movie played out and what was the cool part, and there were so many, like, oh, like I said, so it's just fun to listen, and how they viewed the movie, and so I hope this is entertaining to whoever ends up watching Robot Adventures Explains Avengers Endgame. So, it starts out with Hawkeye and teaching his kids, his daughter, how to shoot the bow and arrow. And I will not know all of the references to all of the characters and like what the symbolism of that is, but he was took a break. He wasn't in Infinity Gauntlet, or what was it, the Avengers, the movie before this. So he's like, oh, he turns around and it's like, okay, honey, go get the and I was third row center. Oh no, third row by the aisle, not center, but and there were only 2 people in my row, so it was me and there was another guy near the center. So it was like, okay, and there was like one or 2 people behind in row D. So I was up there, and I was like right up on the screen. I like to sit third row center, but and he doesn't know what's going on. He didn't know that Thanos snapped. He just turns around and it's like, where's, and you see like just the dust floating away. It's like, oh shit. That's how it would have looked to people who were like, what the fuck is this dusty shit? And he turns around and looks at his wife and is putting mayonnaise on a hot dog, and just you see the dust. And yeah, that's it. And it's like, holy shit, that fucked up. And then you get the red, Marvel logo. And then you cut to Avengers headquarters post-snap. And you got a lot of... you got a Black Widow, teleconferencing with holograms of people all over the place. Oh no, we had Tony Stark. Tony Stark is on the ship. All right, so yeah, that's what happened. And so Tony's talking about he's out there with Amy Pond's character. And Nebula's gone really nice. She's gone through the whole thing, and she's kind of good now. So this is, I guess, how it worked. Fury called Captain Marvel, and then they explained to Captain Marvel, this is what happened, and this happened throughout the universe. So Captain Marvel knows what the fuck happened, because it fucking happened. So she's dealing with all these different worlds and stuff like that, and they're like, okay, and she points out that, all these different worlds don't have Avengers, because if they did, maybe she wouldn't have to deal with so much shit, but... So she goes out and saves Tony Stark out of space. So she brings him back to Earth, and so Nebula and Rocket are like, oh, and all, the sadness because they lost, Nebula lost her sister Gamora, and Rocket lost Groot and stuff. And yeah, so they're Tony Stark's all pissed off at Captain America because he needed a shield and stuff like that, which he wanted to make this Earth protected, but still that wouldn't have stopped the snap. And Thanos would have just like, okay, still would have snapped, even if Tony's shield or something, it wouldn't have protected the Earth. So yeah, it was like Tony was just being pissed off at Captain America, and it didn't make much sense, but it was, like, fuck, we fucking lost, and you kind of felt it, and it's like, fuck, yeah, we fucking lost. They fucking lost. So it was like, yeah. And then, they're like, okay, they get, some news. Hopefully I'm remember this correctly. And yeah, only got a minute on this. I got to stop it and restart. So, Kanpai. All right, I'm gonna stop and because this thing only records 30 minutes at a time. So I'm gonna stop and so take a break. Go drink something. I'll be right back. Kanpai.